It is officially Oscar season, which means it is now time to once again get angry at the Oscars. The nominees for the 2026 Oscars have just dropped, and I've seen a few of them, but I haven't seen all of them just yet. I'm gonna be offering my probably uneducated picks and predictions for this year. I've done this in the past couple of years, but essentially I'm gonna go through and give what I think my pick is, which is what I would like to win. And I'm also going to give my prediction, what I think will eventually win. I've had a decent track record doing this in the past, so I'm interested to see how many I'll be able to guess right this year. But let me know what you're hoping will win this year, and also let me know what ended up getting snubbed for you, because I'm sure it's going to be a lot of that happening today. Supporting actress is pretty much what I expected. I kind of had some doubts about Amy Madigan making it on there, but I'm glad she's on there, even though I don't think she really has any chance of winning. I think my pick is gonna be Inga Lillias. Sentimental Value just has a lot of really powerhouse performances in it, and I think Inga might get overlooked a little bit, but she is very integral to the emotional core of the story just as much as everyone else. So that's gonna be my pick, but I think just based on what the trends are right now, I think Teyana Taylor for One Battle After Another is probably gonna be the lock to actually win the award. No Chase Infinity, unfortunately, but Teyana Taylor is just as good. Really misunderstood character in that film too, but that's a whole other discussion. Makeup and hairstyling, I'm actually shocked to see The Ugly Stepsister on here. It definitely deserves to be on here, but I genuinely just wasn't expecting the Oscars to admit that it exists. But I think my pick and prediction are probably going to be the same this time around, and I think that's gonna go to Frankenstein. Every year there's that one film that has a certain amount of awards kind of locked in, and I kind of feel like Frankenstein is gonna be that. The Smashing Machine would be a decent pick also, but I think I'm gonna have to go with the movie that has the most makeup, because I think that's usually what the Academy kind of looks for with some of these awards. Original score, another one that's kind of to be expected. I think like the last one, I think my pick and prediction are gonna be the same. I think this might go to Sinners. In my opinion, this is some of Ludwig's best work to date. The score and soundtrack have been on constant rotation for me, and I don't think I'm alone in that sentiment. I do also really like the One Battle After Another's score as well, but I think because of how much the music is ingrained in the film, I could see this going to Sinners. For adapted screenplay, I think my pick is probably gonna go with One Battle After Another. It's easily one of the funnier scripts in this category. All these other ones are kind of downers, but it's also incredibly poignant and has a lot more nuance to it than I think a lot of people have been giving it credit for. I could also see this maybe going to Hamnet. But actually, you know what? I think I'm gonna stick with pick and prediction will both be for One Battle After Another. I promise not all the awards will be like this, just sometimes we get into trends like this where the one that I want to win also seems like the obvious pick, which also makes it more likely that I'm just gonna be completely wrong by the time the Oscars do roll around. For original screenplay, I wasn't expecting to see Blue Moon in anything, so that's actually pretty cool to see. All right, I won't do the same thing as the last ones. I think I'm going to pick Marty Supreme as my favorite script, but I'm gonna predict that Sinners is probably gonna walk away with it. Both are phenomenal scripts, but I feel like Marty Supreme kind of has a little bit more electricity to it that has kind of stuck with me a little bit more. But Sinners seems to be the one rolling as the favorite right now, so I think I'm gonna have to stick with that as my prediction. Oh man, supporting actor. This is a really tight one. Really tight one, like a lot tighter than I was expecting. I was not expecting Benicio del Toro to make it in there. That's very nice to see. And Delroy Lindo, that is a very overdue Oscar nom. I'm very happy about that. But then there's also Stellan Skarsgård, who has already picked up a few awards in this circuit. God, and Sean Penn, he was the one I said was pretty much a lock for Best Supporting Actor. Now I really don't know. I think my prediction is going to be Stellan Skarsgård, just because he's kind of already gotten those other awards, and it is a phenomenal performance for sure. And my pick is somewhere between Delroy and Sean. I think there's a lot of depth to Delroy's character in Sinners. He's more than just a comedy act. I think there is still a lot of that underlying sadness that comes with like the Jim Crow era South. But man, Sean Penn, greatest villain performance of, I don't know, the decade. I'm gonna pick Sean Penn, even though I would be honestly pretty happy with any of these winning. I guess even Jacob Elordi. So casting is the brand new one. There is no precedent to this one, so we are really just kind of shooting in the dark here. I think my pick for casting is probably gonna go to Marty Supreme, mostly because that film is filled with a bunch of weirdos that Josh Safdie was able to kind of pull out of nowhere. It probably has one of the most intentional forms of casting that is in any of the movies this year. Sinners is great also. That is a ensemble movie that I think works really, really well. But I think my pick and prediction is probably going to land on Marty Supreme for this one. Costume design. Surprised to see Avatar Fire and Ash. Even more surprised to see that Wicked is not on here. I actually didn't end up seeing Wicked for good last year, and now I'm glad I didn't really have to. So I actually think my pick is going to be Avatar Fire and Ash. It's a little bit of an underdog pick. I think the designs of a lot of the different Na'vi in there is really, really incredible. Deborah L. Scott did a really good job at finding different ways to discern between the different tribes and make them feel unique in their own way. But I think my prediction is going to be Frankenstein. Like I was saying earlier, it just kind of seems like one of those films that's going to sweep the aesthetic awards this year. There's one every year, and Wicked for Good isn't here, and I think Frankenstein is going to be taking its place. Original song is a no-brainer for both my pick and prediction. I think I Lied to You is incredible, not only just as a song itself, but also just how it ties into the film. But I think you'd be a fool to go against Golden in this current race. K-Pop Demon Hunters is everywhere. The song is everywhere. I would be incredibly shocked to see this not walk away with the Oscar. For documentary feature film, I haven't actually seen all of these, but just based on what I have seen and what I've heard people talk about the most, I feel like The Perfect Neighbor might be the one to take it. I might change my mind if I can catch some of these other ones before the Oscars, but yeah, for right now, pick and prediction is gonna be The Perfect Neighbor. International feature film, there's no other choice. That's fine. I guess the Academy just will continue to hate Park Chan-wook for no apparent reason. But out of these, I think my pick is going to be Sentimental Value, and my prediction is going to be The Secret Agent. I thought The Secret Agent was kind of fallen by the wayside, but it's seeing a little bit of a resurgence in the award circuit right now. And because of how much Sentimental Value is taking up a lot of other spots in a lot of other awards, I think The Secret Agent might be able to sneak in and snag itself an Oscar. Animated feature film, it's gotta be K-Pop Demon Hunters. Zootopia 2 is good, but this just isn't Disney's year. Honestly, it hasn't really been Disney's year in quite a while. And I would be absolutely shocked to see it overtake K-Pop Demon Hunters. So yeah, K-Pop Demon Hunters, pick and prediction. For production design, I think my pick is actually gonna be Marty Supreme. I think there is a great attention to detail with reconstructing that era that feels very genuine, very lived in, not very artificial. But my prediction for this one is going to be Frankenstein. Del Toro always kind of seems like a lock for these kind of things, and like I said, it is probably the one that's going to take home a lot of those aesthetic Oscars this year. But even just removing that sentiment, the production design on Frankenstein is still very, very stellar. A lot of practical sets, a lot of very intentional designs. I think it might get the Oscar for that. Film editing. I wasn't expecting to see F1 here, but that's cool, I guess. This is a very tough one because I feel like I have 3 picks and they're all kind of doing different things. The editing of Sentimental Value is kind of understated, but also very intentional. I think it really does a good job at kind of flowing through the story and the periods of time and interweaving everything in a way that makes everything make sense. But I also really like the high octane editing of something like Marty Supreme. It takes a very careful hand to make sure that all that erraticism doesn't just make this whole thing a jumbled mess. And I think they did a very good job at making sure it is clear, coherent, but still very, very aggressively erratic. And I also really enjoy the editing of One Battle After Another too. I think my pick is probably gonna be Sentimental Value, and my prediction, I think I'm gonna say Marty Supreme. For sound, seeing Surratt here is actually pretty cool. I think that's going to be my pick because it reminds me a lot of when The Sound of Metal was in the Oscar race. Sound and sound design is so ingrained in the very core of that film, so I would like to see that one win, but I'm gonna have to throw my prediction to the big loud movie of the year, and that was F1. It's just one of those things, kind of like Top Gun Maverick before it, where I'm just kind of drawn to the idea of the Oscars giving the sound design award to the biggest and loudest movie. So yeah, pick is gonna be Surratt, Prediction is going to be F1. Visual effects, that's an interesting lineup. I forgot The Lost Bus even came out. And then there's Jurassic World Rebirth. I don't really see that one winning. F1 does kind of seem like the sleeper pick, but I also feel like it might be a little foolish to go up against an Avatar movie when it actually is in the Oscar race. So yeah, I'm gonna say pick and prediction, Avatar, Fire and Ash. There's really nothing that looks better than it when it comes to the scale of the special effects. It's not gonna win anything else, might as well just give it this one. Cinematography is another solid one. I think my pick and prediction is going to go to One Battle After Another. It's just phenomenal in how the camera captures everything from those wide, expansive shots to even more close and intimate. There's a lot of really intentional movement going on in there. And I mean, that car chase at the end with the winding, hilly road, it's genuinely one of the best shot scenes I've seen all year. So yeah, I'm gonna say pick and prediction is gonna go to One Battle After Another. Actor in a leading role. This is a tough one. Really happy to see Ethan Hawke get in there. Didn't think he was gonna make it. And Michael B. Jordan too. I wasn't really expecting that either. But I don't know, this might be the year. This might be Timothée Chalamet's year. I do think I probably enjoyed the performance of Leonardo DiCaprio a bit more, so I'm gonna say that's my pick. But my prediction is going to be Timothée Chalamet. I think this is the one. Actress in a leading role is another tough one. Surprised to see Emma Stone, but also not really. I definitely think she does a good job. But now that I think about it, where is Jesse Plemons? Where is the Jesse Plemons love? But anyway, I think my pick between the 5 of these is probably gonna go to Rose Byrne. Just a very revealing, bold performance that really puts herself out there. It's a real difficult role, not only in just what she has to do in the movie, but also the way she has to portray a character like this and not make it either just a complete pit of misery, but then also something that you can't really get behind. So that's my pick, but I think just because of the train rolling behind her, I'm gonna say Jessie Buckley is going to be my prediction. And she definitely deserves it. Honestly, she is absolutely phenomenal in that movie, and I will not be mad if she walks away with the statue for that one. And now for the last big ones, honestly, it's not going to be anything too confusing or tricky. I think One Battle After Another is gonna be both my pick and prediction. PTA is long overdue for this one, and if I'm looking at all of these, I think when it comes to direction, he pretty much clears the rest of them. All of them have phenomenal directing to them, don't get me wrong, but I do think this is Paul's year, and One Battle After Another I think is going to be my pick and prediction, walking away with the directing award. And then finally, Best Picture, you probably already know. I think my pick and prediction is going to be One Battle After Another. Not only was it my favorite movie of last year, but it is also getting a lot of traction in the award circuit right now. So I could definitely see it walking away. Sinners would be interesting. I really don't expect it to win, but if it did, I actually would not be disappointed in the slightest. Most of these are pretty strong contenders. Hamnet might be a bit of a sneak pick, but I feel pretty confident that One Battle After Another is going to be my pick and prediction, and it is going to win Best Picture. And that's all the categories I'm gonna be covering for now. You may have realized that I have missed a few of the shorts, and that's just because they haven't been made widely available yet. They are hitting theaters in a couple weeks, so I will be checking them out then, and I'm going to update my picks for those categories in the description below. But like I said, please let me know what you're pulling for to win in this Oscar race. Let me know what you thought got snubbed. And if you're watching this after the Oscars just because you wanted to come back and tell me how wrong I was, that's cool too. At least you're watching. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.